Frank Luna, and welcome to Season 2 of Making Space on Arizona Barrio Stories, powered by Latino USA TV. This is a show where we amplify LGBTQ voices in the professional world and where we celebrate the inspiring stories of our community and our allies. So wherever you're watching from, I invite you to join me in making space for truth, for culture, for connection, and for the people building impact across every field: business, tech, the arts, mental health, activism, and beyond. And this season, we're going even deeper, creating room for the stories that inspire us and the stories that are too often left unspoken. Let's get started. Today, we're honored to welcome a true pioneer of the Southwest art scene. As he prepares to retire from his professorship at Arizona State University this spring, after 30 years, we've invited him to join us today to discuss his upcoming production in May, his legacy, and what it means to truly own your space. Please welcome award-winning author, playwright, and director, Guillermo Reyes. Welcome, Guillermo.
Thank you for having me, Frank.
Well, it's our pleasure to have you. Now, for the past 3 decades, you've been a foundational voice at the School of Music, Dance, and Theater at ASU, a professor and mentor to thousands of students over the years. But your impact has stretched far beyond the classroom. Now, let's just touch on a few of them. Award-winning playwright, co-founder of Teatro Bravo, the Valley's first bilingual Latino theater company, which was founded in 2000, and author of the deeply moving and award-winning memoir, Madre and I. Guillermo, tell me, when you step back and reflect on all that you've accomplished over the years, what are some of the things that come to mind?
Wow. Well, there's a lifetime of reflection, I think. I started as a writer, basically. I just wanted to write, but I became more involved in theater because there was something exciting about theater, and I couldn't just sit home and write. I felt like there was a need to activate, you might say, the work that you are writing. And so directing plays was something that interested me, and I started doing that precisely with Teatro Bravo. I had done some of that in LA with the Bilingual Foundation of the Arts, where I came from. I was the literary manager of that company, and we did plays in English and in Spanish. So when Arizona State University hired me here, it was one of the things that I wanted to do, but I couldn't always do it on campus. I had to go off campus and be part of the community.
Sure.
And I became part of Teatro Bravo, which was founded with, as you know, with 2 of our colleagues from Phoenix College, Trino Sandoval and Daniel Enrique Perez, who was a graduate student at that time. He's now a professor at the University of Nevada in Reno. So the 3 of us created Teatro Bravo, and it became part of the community. And at the time, it was very exciting to be doing that. We were much younger.
All of us were.
But what I'm saying is, we had full-time jobs, all of us, and yet we were doing theater.
A lot of energy.
Yeah, we were doing like 3 productions a year, which was a lot for a company that was very small and didn't have staff. We were the staff, basically, the founders. And so, to me, it was always about activating a lot of the stories that we told from the community, the Latino community, the LGBTQ community, and other communities that I felt were lacking out there in the theater. As you know, we do have theater in Phoenix, but these stories don't always get told in those companies because they have a different type of, subscription type of audience, and that doesn't always include Latinos. So we felt the need to be inclusive and to create that. But also, I always go back to my writing roots. I do write, and as you pointed out, I published that particular memoir along with publishing plays, which is what I normally do. But the memoir came as a part of just reflection, as I said, reflection on my childhood, growing up in Chile, but also coming to the United States and being an immigrant myself. So there's, like I said, lots of things to reflect upon 30 plus years of reflection.
Yeah. A lot of, you laid a lot of groundwork back then, certainly. And along those lines,
Yes.
Like many of us, you are bicultural, a native of Chile, and immigrated to the U.S. as a child, as you said. And actually, a running theme throughout much of your work explores the intersection of Chilean-American identity and the queer experience. In your memoir, Madre and I, you explore experiences that many Latino gay men and gay men more broadly face growing up, navigating family dynamics, bullying, rejection, and struggles with self-esteem. What's striking is that you often tell these stories with humor, generosity, and the perspective of the social, from the perspective of the social outsider and the protagonist turned survivor. How much of your early experiences shaped the themes that you've explored as a playwright over the past 30 years? I'm curious.
Well, I mean, I think like a lot of playwrights, we draw upon our personal experiences to tell stories, and basically that's what I do. And as you pointed out, I try to look at them with an element of empathy towards all characters. I don't think I draw a lot of villains except when we're doing comedy and we're exaggerating, but in serious drama I wouldn't do that. And I'm interested in being able to tell the stories of people who aren't always heard from. So yeah, I don't know where to take it. It's like we could take it many different places.
Well,
Go ahead, I'm sorry.
Well, no. I was going to say, if in looking along those lines, looking at your work, are there any that are especially personal to you of what you've?
Sure, there's several of them. Some of the plays that I did before I came to ASU, I think have remained also. Perhaps my most produced play is Man on the Verge of a Hispanic Breakdown.
Yeah, very popular.
That was being done in LA. It was a big hit there. And then it was done off-Broadway in New York. And that is a series of monologues, a one-man show that a fabulous actor, young actor at the time, Felix Pyre, did, where he played all these Latino men who were also gay, who told their stories from their point of view, and also very comedic point of view, and they combined comedy with some poignant moments so that it became a very well-rounded, I think, in terms of trying to balance both comedy and tragedy. There was some elements of tragedy in some of their lives, but they always came through, they always survived, and that was an important part, I think, of my aesthetic at the time.
Sure.
And so that play definitely has been done all over the country, has become identified with what I do. It's not the only thing that I do. I mean, one of the plays that I did also before I came, like almost a few months before I came to ASU, was Chilean Holiday, which was about a Chilean family that was dealing with the Pinochet dictatorship. Again, I would think that's a very empathetic story because it really tells a story from a right-wing conservative family, and that's one part of my family, but also in terms of how they learn a lot more about what's really going on in the Pinochet dictatorship. It's like a learning lesson, and I know that some of my family members probably think that I'm kind of revealing some aspects of what they went through. But I don't think I do it without empathy. And I wasn't writing it to lecture them or anything like that. So I felt that was an important play because it gave me a good grounding in how to tell those stories. Remember that I wrote it in English, and the play obviously would be taking place in Spanish. So that's always been an issue for me as a writer. It's like, shouldn't I be writing it in Spanish? But it's just that in the US, it's hard to write it in Spanish and then get it produced. This play has been produced. Chilean Holiday was also produced in many different venues, but in English. And the same goes with Men on the Verge. And then let me add Deporting the Divas, which is also done right before I came, but it was also done here in Phoenix after I came. And that's the relationship of a border patrolman in San Diego who has a relationship with a gay young man. So that's much more about gay identity with issues of immigration.
Right.
And it's interesting because
Very timely now.
yeah, exactly. It was a play that was being done when I came here in my first year, and now it is being done again as I leave. Right. It's being done in Santa Fe in June. Teatro Bravo, as the company is called there. And I thought, when I looked at the script, I thought a lot of this is going on now.
Exactly.
And it was happening back then in California with Proposition 187, that type of controversy. It's as if that has been magnified across the country, the issues of deportation and so forth.
Right.
And Deporting the Divas was written as a comedy, and I keep wondering, is it still funny? I think it is, but the issues have been magnified, and there's been as what happened recently in Minneapolis. There's been more tragedy behind it. So I think these issues remain in the public conversation of what's going on politically in this country.
That brings up another thought. A couple of things. Men on the Verge, when you saw that was catching on, and I know it was one of your very popular works. How did you feel when you saw that it was doing so well?
Well, I would say I was gratified, obviously, but it came as a combination of the various talents coalescing, you might say, because I think by myself I probably couldn't have made that show a hit the way it was, because it was this young and fabulous actor called Felix Pyer that I mentioned, and the director Joseph Meagle, who at the time was directing a lot of plays in Los Angeles, and he knew how to direct that. He really created a very fabulous, fun show, because the one-man show sometimes they're monologues, and people don't always want to listen to monologues. They feel static sometimes. Right. But he made it very active, and he had a very funny, very well-grounded young actor who could make it work. And so, when I saw it, I was surprised because I didn't know that it was going to be that good, So for me, it was fabulous to see it, But then when I found an actor in Portland, that was Andy Alcala. He's the one that I brought here, because I did it in Portland. I directed it in Portland, and then the people at Borderlands Theater in Tucson asked me to bring it there, so I brought it there, and then I brought it to Phoenix. Suddenly, it also had its own life as well. It showed that a good actor could make it work wherever it can be done. And I was glad that I directed it, because at the time I didn't have the experience as a director, so I felt gratified that I was able to direct it with the help of Andy, who's a fabulous young actor as well.
Yeah, very good. Well, we've got a couple of minutes here, and we are going to continue with part 2, because we got a lot to cover still. But I want to end this part of the interview with asking you about, you've got a production coming up in May, and I want to do a plug for that before we close this section. Tell me about it, because I know one of the pieces is a new piece, an original piece. So talk to the audience. I want the audience members who haven't had a chance to see your work yet, to hear a little bit about that. It's coming up.
Well, it is a fundraiser for students at Phoenix College, and so also it also serves as you might say, a retirement event as well. I'm not retiring from writing; I'm just retiring from ASU. But we put together these 2 different plays. One of the plays that I've done here in Arizona, which has also gotten several productions, is called That Day in Tucson, which was inspired, you might say, because the word inspiration is difficult to say in the context of violence. But what happened was, the very tragic event in Tucson with the shooting that ended up with Gabby Giffords being injured and 6 other people dying. That that became a play because of the story of Daniel Hernandez, who helped
Correct.
save her life. So I approached Daniel when he wrote his book. I approached him in asking him whether I could make a play out of it, and he said, "Sure, go ahead."
Oh, great.
So then we did a series of readings, even here at LUC. In Phoenix, and then we did it in Tucson. Borderlands Theater did the first production of this play that then was published, and then it's being done across the country thanks to that publication. And so it is. On the surface, it looks like a scary play. Like some of my friends would say, "Should I go see it? It sounds sad. It sounds tragic." Well, the way that I talk about it is that I tell them it's an inspiring story of a young man who stepped up to the plate and helped save the life of Congresswoman Giffords. So it's an inspiring tale. It is not meant to be depressing. It certainly treats the tragedy, but it also looks at how a young man was able to do that. And so it is a celebration of his heroism, and it's a lovely story in my opinion.
Well, there's another one though that I really want you to. That's a great one, but the other one is more personal to you.
Right.
We
The other
have
one,
like 30 seconds.
right. The other one is called Solo se vive otra vez, and that is really inspired by my mother and the last days of her life. But it's, again, not meant to be depressing because it's a one-woman show played by Greta Skelly, where she tells the story of her life, and she also sings, and she explains many joyous moments of her life, and it is a celebration as well.
And I'm looking forward to both of them, Guillermo. And folks, if you have a chance, please look out for that. And it's going to be publicized very soon. Phoenix College fundraiser for the Mecha Club in May. And keep an eye out for that. You would be in for a treat. And it'll be directed by Guillermo here. So we will look forward to our next installment of Making Space, where we will continue our Season 2 premiere and our conversation with Guillermo Reyes.
This segment brought to you by Gutierrez Law Firm.
Hola, mi gente. I'm attorney Francisco Gutierrez and a proud sponsor of Arizona Barrio Stories. I grew up in the Anat Barrio, and I've been practicing law now since 1984. Experience really does matter. If you've been injured by someone, call me. Let's talk.
Guillermo, thank you for joining us for this second show.
All right. Thank you for having me.
Before we leave the conversation around your memoir, Madre and I want to ask you about a particular scene in the book about your mother when she was working with her comadre as a housekeeper in the mansion of a big Hollywood producer. And she had an encounter with an Academy Award. Can you describe the scene and talk about why you choose to include that in the story?
Right. Well, yeah, that's one of the central images of it. To be clear, my mother wasn't working for that particular gentleman.
Okay.
It was my mother's friend, Carmen.
Okay, so she was with Carmen.
Right. The thing is, we were just watching the Oscars, and then the Best Picture of that year, which was in 1978, the Best Picture winner was Annie Hall for the year 1977.
Okay.
So what happens is that the producer went up to accept the award, and Carmen says, "Oh yeah, I work for him." And then my mother says, "What? You work for him?" Yeah, she said, "Yeah, I work for him." So my mother said, "Okay, tomorrow I'm going to go help you." Next time you work, I think it was the next day, I'm going to go help you. And then, so my mother went up to the house. She wasn't working for him, you see. She tagged along because that's how she was. It's
Thank you for clarifying
yo me
that.
meto. It was her idea, right?
Sure.
So she went with Carmen. Carmen was the one supposed to be working, and then she took a picture of herself with the Oscar, which I provided for you, and also it's in the book, because I thought that was very emblematic of my mother having also worked in Hollywood for other people, being this person who has contacts in the industry. Not those type of contacts, but contacts in the maintenance area. And also having access, therefore, to the Oscar, the Best Picture winner of that year. So my mother is holding it very proudly. As a Chilean immigrant, she was very excited to be able to hold the Oscar.
Wonderful.
And that was emblematic of our lives at the time.
Absolutely. And I just want to share the book, Madre and I, by Guillermo Reyes. Wonderful, wonderful story. And I encourage all of you to look it up. It is available. It is available on Amazon. I picked it up through Amazon. So please, it's a wonderful read and a very poignant story. You've shared so many powerful stories about the forces that shaped you, Guillermo, your family, your mother's imagination, your sense of identity as an artist. Let's talk about the moment when all of that arrived in Phoenix. And if I can get this page to turn. When you first came here and joined ASU as a professor, what did you see in this city in terms of what did you feel was missing from its theater landscape?
Sure. Well, what I saw was a very vibrant Latino community. It was all around us, but it was not on stage. The theater in this town was mostly, exclusive and not inclusive of the Latino community. And I've been doing Latino theater in LA for a very long time by then, and I felt the need to do more. And it seemed at the time easier to start a company because rentals were relatively low. It was actually fairly favorable to an artist to simply rent a theater, and the very first space was the Playwright's theater that was on First Street at the time. It's not there any longer, and they welcomed us. C.S. McFadden was the artistic director at the time, and she was wonderful. She opened up basically the theater. She said, let's do it. Let's put on a Latino theater. And so we started doing plays there. Our first production was A Bowl of Beings, as in human beings, A Bowl of Beings by Culture Clash. This was a play that had been done in Los Angeles by this very funny group of young artists called Culture Clash. And I asked them for permission to do their play, and that's how we opened in the fall of 2020. All Latino cast, which was not heard of at the time.
Sure. What happened? What response did you receive?
Well, I mean, it's like it launched the theater. People came to see it. I mean, it wasn't a huge theater. It had about 100 seats or so, but we were able to fill it up every night. So we were able to establish a presence of Latino artists here in Phoenix, and that was great.
As you look back on Teatro Bravo, it's become a landmark in the Valley art scene. Developing artists, audiences, and stories that hadn't previously had a home. Now, looking to the company as a space where Latino theater is celebrated. What does it mean to you to have helped reshape the cultural landscape here in Phoenix?
Well, I mean, it was exciting at the time. I was younger and much more, atrevido. I was willing to put a lot of time and effort into it, and I thought it paid off, and so I was very proud of that. I think that I always go back to my writing, which is why after 10 years I couldn't continue to be the artistic director, but I continued to support the theater as it went on. And then I also noticed that a lot of the other theaters that are established, they began to do a Latino play now and then. And I think it's become more of a tradition now that the theater companies include at least one Latino play somewhere. Child's Play has been much better at it, I think, as a company, because they do a lot of youth plays, and they understand that a lot of the community here in the schools is made up of Latino young children in particular, or young people, and so they've been very good about promoting Latino plays. The other companies, now and then, they do something, but it's not as established, I think.
I want to, before we talk about ASU a little bit, I do want to ask you about your writing, because I know at heart you're a writer. And in our first segment, in part one, you touched on something regarding your writing and the storytelling, and how your familia had responded to, I would say, your writing. As a writer, I know sometimes that's a struggle in storytelling, especially when you get into writing things like memoirs and stuff.
Right.
How do you deal with that?
Well, I think my mother was great about all of this. She was very supportive. She saw all of my plays, and she always gave good feedback. She liked some plays better than others. She didn't have a problem with the gay issues. I think sometimes she was more interested in whether or not it was fun, or entertaining, or if she felt it was boring, she would say so. So for me, it's more like that. I mean, the rest of my family in Chile doesn't speak English for the most part, and so they probably wouldn't be able to really appreciate all of it. But they understand that I'm a writer in the United States and that I write in English. I don't think any of them have read my book, and maybe it's better that way, because it probably would be misunderstood if they don't speak English. One day it'll be translated, and that would be good. Part of my retirement will be to actually go to Chile and maybe other parts of Latin America as well, and do some of my plays in Spanish. So I think that's an important project for me as well.
Guillermo, what advice would you give an upcoming writer that is thinking about doing something like that? Maybe they want to do a memoir, but they're struggling. Do I do a memoir, or do I do fiction? And they're at that crossroads of, for the same reasons we've discussed.
Right.
And if they are Latino.
Well, I would say if you're a writer, you probably should try both. I mean, there's nothing stopping you from writing a novel or short stories that are based on your family life, but they're fictionalized, and then writing a memoir, which goes much more directly, trying to find the truth in the storytelling, because you have to be a lot more careful when you're doing a memoir than when you're creating fictional characters. When you're creating fiction, you have a lot more leeway of exaggerating or doing outrageous things. Whereas in a memoir, you have to be more careful. You have to be careful altogether of getting it right. And, you're always going to find something that maybe a family member is not going to agree with, because you're telling the story from your point of view, and it's possible that they're not going to like their portrayal, And so you have to be careful with how you say it, but try to tell your truth to the best of your ability. So in my opinion, you should try it all. You should try all of it, because you never know which one is going to be more suitable to you, because some people have found that they write nonfiction much better, creative nonfiction as it is called now, when you write memoirs. You're much more effective there for some people than in your fiction or your poetry or your playwriting, whichever genre you choose.
When you started to think about your memoir and your book, were you clear on what direction you wanted to go in? Had you already decided on a memoir, or were you?
Well, I mean, I thought of telling the stories of our family, the ones that I was comfortable telling. But to me, it was always going to be a complement to the other writing that I do, which is playwriting and also fiction writing. So it was not like I had to make a choice, right? Like choose one over the other. It was just this particular book was going to be this type of book. And I can always go back to my playwriting and my fictional writing. And part of me does want to go back to memoir, because I feel like I have a second book in my mind already.
A sequel.
A sequel. Well, I don't know if it's a sequel, but yes, it's a continuation because it covers, this one book covers childhood and then up to my mother's eventual death. And but I don't cover a lot of the adult stuff that happens, especially the 30 years that we've been talking about in terms of Phoenix in Arizona in general. There's a lot to be said about that and about everything else that has happened since.
So I'm sure that everybody want to hear about that. As your retirement from ASU nears in a few months, and you reflect upon the past 3 decades of that, what are some of the things that you're most proud of having accomplished as a professor?
As a professor? Well, I mean, I think one of the things that interested me about grad school is that when I went was that I wanted it to be a place that was supportive of my work and my writing. I found grad school very difficult for myself, actually, because I thought it was a very competitive place, and I found it not always supportive. Let's put it that way. It has nothing to do with my professors, who are very wonderful people, but it had to do with the environment overall. So what I wanted to create here, and I hope I have achieved most of that, is to create a space where the students felt supported. When I started, it was part of the creative writing program in the English department, but then eventually we became part of the dramatic writing program in the theater department exclusively. So so there's been some variation of what that means, but primarily it was to help writers develop their work, and I hope that I've been able to help younger writers who are out there doing it. And yes, I do hear from some of my students who are doing it, who are doing plays across the country. Some of them I've also written novels and published them, so I feel very good about that. And you know, I think in 30 years we've been able to create that type of environment that is supportive of writers.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
I have one final question, and then I'd like to plug your upcoming shows in May.
Sure.
What play does Guillermo Reyes have yet to write?
Oh my God. That's a good question. Well, I don't know. I feel like there's an epic story of some kind, you know, the way that Tony Kushner's Angels in America was. I feel that I have some of that in me.
Oh, I can see
But I don't want to put angels in it. It's already been done. But I'll have some other type of phantasmagorical stories.
I can see that
you know.
in you. Oh, yeah.
I feel like that play is somewhere in me. But I've written a lot already. It's just that I don't feel like I've written Angels in America yet. I feel like I have to get close to that.
I think I could see that. As we close, Guillermo, please tell us about your upcoming shows in May. I know that's a collaboration with Phoenix College.
Right. It is a fundraiser for the students of Mecha in Phoenix College. 2 plays, That Day in Tucson, that's being directed by Marcelino Quiñones. And the other one is called Solo se vive otra vez, which I'm directing. I'm also writing it, and I'm writing it in Spanish. So that's the difference between the two.
Well, Guillermo, we're looking forward to both those shows coming up in May, and we will be publicizing them on our social media.
Sure. Thank you.
Thank you so much for being here today. It's been a pleasure and an honor to talk with you, and for sharing your story and your life with us.
Well, thank you for letting me share.
And congratulations on your retirement.
Thank you.
Folks, that wraps it up for Making Space, and we will see you next time.